here we have the man of the hour,
Mr. Curle.
How you doing, fella? You well?
We're doing great, thank you. Thanks for joining us, Keith. Really appreciate it.
No, pleasure. You see the picture you got behind you? I've got that on my side at home.
Have you really?
Yeah.
We were just talking about this with Paul Ince coming to Cantonard's rescue. Just what exactly were you whispering into his ear? Can you tell us?
Well, strangely enough, Eric was my next door neighbour as well.
No, he wasn't. Was he really?
Yeah, he was renting. When I moved into Prestbury, and he rented Mark Hughes' old house when Mark moved out and built another one. So we were actually neighbours. So I think I might have been telling him something that I think I had one of his parcels delivered to my house or something. Like that.
Brilliant.
The bins go out on Wednesday, something along those lines. Yeah. Dave was just telling me that could have been Cantonard's first game at Old Trafford as well. So hopefully you give him a bit of a rough time.
I think it might have been his first derby game, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
I think. I don't know. Again, it's a fantastic player. Good to play against him, to pit yourself against him. But again, as a neighbour, as a man, I've got to say, nice fella.
Do you know what? It's funny, isn't it? You never imagine, obviously, the areas where footballers live. You never actually imagine them living next to each other. But actually, they probably see each other an awful lot more than what we actually think, don't they? Especially when you're playing the game.
Yeah, we do. Well, we had a thing because before Eric moved into Mark's house, Mark and Joe were good friends with me and my ex-wife, and we had a thing that after every derby game, the person who won would decide where we went out for a meal that evening after a derby game. So you can imagine. Unfortunately, I was there for 5 years, never on the winning team in a derby game. So I ended up going to the red half of the city for a few meals after derby games, which wasn't the best thing to do.
No, I can imagine. I bet you ended up footing the bill more than once as well, then, didn't you?
No, Mark was quite generous, to be honest.
Oh, was he? Oh, well, listen. I'm Tom. I've spoken to you a few times on Twitter, and obviously, you know Dave, been talking to him on Twitter to arrange this. So, listen, thanks so much for your time and for coming on. We've got a load of things to talk to you about. Have we got any time constraints with you, Keith?
No. I'm just watching Gangs of London, so and it's on catch up, so I'm all right.
Even better. Stick it on pause and catch you up later. Love it. That's brilliant. No, it's an absolute delight to talk to you. I've got a couple of stories of me watching you as a lad coming through. But, you know, we start off where I was looking at your career before. You played over 700 games of professional football, and you've managed over 500 games as well, Keith. Does that seem to have gone really quickly for you? Because it doesn't seem that quick. It's bizarre how quickly that seems to have gone. 500 managerial games.
Yeah, it does seem to have gone very quickly. And again, I'm still learning. I'm not only learning about the role, but again, when you go to different football clubs, every football club's got a different fabric, and you have to sometimes you have to change that. But it's important that you understand what the fabric and DNA of every football club that you go to. I think I was lucky that I went to Carlisle at a very difficult time for the football club, when I went, they'd just been relegated at 4 points adrift, and they were going in completely the wrong direction. So to turn that around and be able to stay there for 4 years was very good. Well, 3.5 seasons, but 4 years. And again, I think we finished in the top 10 for the 3 years. 3 years on the bounce, one of them in the playoffs. So again, that was an exciting time. The amount of games, the games have flown by. The one thing I know that I need on my CV as a manager or coach is a promotion. I've had it as an assistant manager when I went working with Neil at QPR when we won the championship, and then I made a decision that I wanted to go again on my own. And again, so the one thing I need now is I need a promotion on my CV. I've been close. We're going to the playoffs with Mansfield as well, and with Carlisle. And again, some of the clubs that I've joined them for a reason, because they were going in the wrong direction at the wrong end of the table, and it does take a little bit of time and a lot of hard work to get a team operating at the top half of the table. But again, so I managed to do that, but now I need to get a promotion, and I'm sure then my career will kick off.
I believe you're a bit of a cult figure at Carlisle. I think there's a bit of love there between the fans and you, isn't there?
Yeah.
Again, I went there at very difficult times. Very disgruntled fan base. They had, I think, my first game, I walked out to the cries from the fans that they were bored of the board. So that was one thing that I had to turn around. There was a lot of attention on the ownership, the board of directors, and so all the back pages, all the media was all about what was going on in the boardroom. So the important thing was I needed to get the supporters, I needed to get them entertained, coming to games and watching what was going on the grass. And again, that's not easy. So you have to put in performances. First of all, we had to stay up. I think that again, there were 4 points adrift, and in the end, we stayed up comfortably, and then we were able to build free flow and entertaining, attacking football, where it got bums on seats and it got the focus and the back pages talking about what was happening on the field. And I think that was important. And again, but I've got to say, the owners, when I was there, they were excellent with me. The chairman, Andrew Jenkins, and the directors were very good, very supportive. They knew they were in a difficult time, and they were at the wrong end or on the wrong side of the support base, and they knew that they needed the supporters to be talking about football. And again, the stewardship of the football club. The chairman's been there a long time. Angry Jane. Yeah, the football club means the world to me. Yeah, they've made some bad decisions, but ultimately the fan base. I think Peter Andre, was it Mysterious Curl? They used to sing that, and there's a few lads at it. Lads had a couple of tattoos and things like that, and I think like, wow. So
that must be great as a manager watching fans do that for you. That's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, but, and again, you are quite isolated up there as well, so you do have to have a connection with the supporters again. So when we went there, I rented a house and moved up there, so I was up there a lot. I've got to be honest, there's not a lot to do in Carlisle. And when you've been there 4 years, you virtually met everybody as well.
Yeah. So you have two very big fans, Keith. All of my in-laws, my brother-in-law lives in Appleby, which is just down the road from Carlisle. He's got a lot of Carlisle mates, and two of your biggest fans are Matt and his son Evan, and they were hoping that you could just do them a quick shout out and say hello, because they love everything that you did for Carlisle Football Club.
Oh, super. Well, yeah, shout out to Matt and Evan. Thanks so much for your support. It's greatly valued and very much appreciated. Great football club, and I hope that I do sincerely wish them well.
Oh, you're an absolute legend already, pal. You've made two people very happy there straight away. That's not even us two. We're happy just to have you. It's funny. We were talking to Colin Hendry a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, a centre half with great prowess and a fantastic footballer, just like yourself. And when I started watching you, I was 10, 11 when I've been going to Maine Road since I was 4 years old. So I've seen everything when it came to watching City. And when I first started playing football, I was 9. Yeah. And with my size, I was nearly 6 foot when I was 10 years old. I was massive. So straight away, I was either a striker, a goalkeeper, a centre half. I was always stuck in centre half because I didn't mind getting stuck in for a tackle. So every time I watched a City defender play, I was always watching the movement and the play and the passing. So to actually talk to you now, Keith, I can't tell you how nice it is to see you to actually have a chat to you. So you've made my day. I'm blushing. I'm going to move on. Yeah. When you first came to City, you played 300 odd games with the likes of Bristol, Torquay, Reading, Wimbledon. So you already had that prowess as a defender, and you came on leaps and bounds. I think playing for City. And when we tell people we're having you on, we're speaking to Keith Curle. Great player, brilliant player. I wish we had that type of player now. But those are the three made comments that were talked about then. Have you always been a centre half throughout your whole career?
No, I started as a schoolboy. I was a centre forward, and then when I joined the professional ranks, I was a left or right winger. And it was Terry Cooper and Clive Middlemass back in the old days when I was an apprentice or a schoolboy and apprentice. Terry decided in his wisdom that he was going to make me into a centre-back. And Clive Middlemass, his assistant at the time, said, "I'm telling you now, I will get you to play for England."
Is that right?
Yeah. Wow. So you can imagine as an 18-year-old that had just been released 2 years beforehand at 16, and being told that I was not going to be Alan Dixon was the manager of Bristol City at the time, and he said in his opinion he didn't think I was going to have a future in a professional game. So then for 2.5, 3 years later to get told by an assistant manager that he thought you were going to be playing for England as a defender, didn't believe it. But I've got to say, I've got a lot of credit for Terry Cooper and Clive Middlemass, because some of the fundamentals of the game they taught me, and they put a lot of time and effort into me. I've always played left-hand side centre-back, but when as a youngster, couldn't kick the ball with my left foot. I spent a lot of time out in the car park. You know, imagine the old Ashton Gate as it was then. Used to have the turnstiles where the supporters used to go in. Every day I was driving balls with my left foot, and I had to complete seven turnstiles with my left foot driving the ball between them until I could go home. And that was every single day I was out there with Clive, Terry Cooper. They used to be out with me all the time. I never used to like heading the ball. So every day, left foot heading. Fundamentals of being a defender wherever I was going to play. Yeah. And luckily enough, if you said then back in the day, then when I just started out practicing with my left foot, you'd say, well, you're going to play for England and you're going to play as a left back. So I got 3 caps. One of the caps actually came on and I played left back. And I'm thinking, wow, not a chance. Could anybody have envisaged that?
I was going to come on to this later, but as soon as you raised the point, I'm going to mention now. Do you think you were played out of position for England?
Well, I never played my natural position. Yeah. I'm a centre back, or was a centre back. I played right back, left back, and I played sweeper. And at the time, I played sweeper behind in the game. I think it might have been against Russia. I played behind Des Walker and Martin Keown. So you had super Des. Nothing got past. And Martin Keown, anything did get past was usually limping anyway. So again, I think we tried playing 3 at the back at the time, and it wasn't working because they weren't used to playing with it, and it was more defensive. So I only lasted about, I think I lasted just after half time. But again, another game that. Fantastic experience to play for your country even more so when you haven't been brought up that way, hasn't it? You haven't been brought up at top level, as in a first division club or a Premier League club there, and going through the system. I was somebody that at 16, a lot of people have thought that I wasn't going to make it, and then when I got my chance, when I came to City, I was probably 26, 27. A lot of people probably thought that I'd missed the boat and missed my opportunity. But that was probably three fantastic years at Wimbledon, and I can't tell you the biggest or how big that contrast is between going from Wimbledon and being captain of Wimbledon to being the next season being captain of Man City is it's a culture shock.
I can imagine you've always throughout your career, before you joined City, you always seem to have taken that step up to a bigger club. When you came to City, did you have the mindset of you were the complete defender then? Or did you still think you had plenty to learn? Or when you joined us?
No. Again, I'll go back to my Wimbledon days. I think I was very lucky because Bobby Gould, who was my previous manager when I was at Bristol Rovers, he signed me, and his assistant manager was Don Howe. Obviously the Arsenal and ex-England manager and coach as it was then. So I had fantastic coaching from Don Howe, and again he could break down the individual aspects of every single position, and that was his forte, and that's what he used to do. So again, I learned a lot from Don Howe and Bobby Gould when I was at Wimbledon. Yeah, I wouldn't say when I went to City, I was by no means a complete defender, but I was ahead of what I had been 3 years previously. And again, Wimbledon, we had a style of play and we had a system of play whereby defending was crucial because part of that was we wanted to play in the opposition's half. So when the ball came out, we had to be in the right position. And again, but the actual contrast between Wimbledon and Man City is phenomenal. Complete culture shock. And completely different cultures. But again, at the time, they both worked. When I first went to Wimbledon, my first season, we went there, we finished, believe it or not, we finished the top London club above Arsenal. Right. And Chelsea, I think we finished 7th and we were the top London club. Again, obviously, when you're getting gates of 3,000-4,000 in League One, you're not going to be able to sustain that year on, year out. And again, then unfortunately, Wimbledon had to move to Crystal Palace's ground, and I think that was not so much a demise, but again, the fabric of the football club had disappeared. And by that time, then I'd moved to Man City, and again, my eyes were opened as into what it meant to play for a very big club.
Well, you talk of this when you came. I think I'm right in thinking you were a record signing for a defender or centre back at that point in time. Yeah. Were there many clubs after you that you were aware of?
I think I could have gone to Spain. There was interest from a team in Spain. I wasn't ready for it. I had a young family, and I didn't think that lifestyle would have suited me. I wanted to play football in and around, and I knew it was going to be a big move for me, a career deciding move for me. I knew I needed to go, and I needed to make sure that I made a good impression. I still had aspirations at the time then that I wanted to play for England. There'd been talk about it, but I thought playing for Wimbledon, I wasn't going to get the recognition. I knew I needed to move to a big club. And when I got the opportunity to go to City, I thought that was my opportunity rather than going to Spain. I could have gone to Spain and probably a lot more money, but I still thought I had a lot to offer and a lot to learn.
Does the price tag ever affect you when you join a club like City?
Again, I think probably the manager at the time, Peter Reid, helped me massively. And again, I think probably I had a couple of meetings with Peter, and when he told me that he was going to bring me in, he wanted me to be captain. And then so I was saying, well, what do you need from me? And he goes, I want you to play exactly the same way as how you've been playing. Don't change how you've been playing, and affect other people around you.
And when you joined in 1991, was it 1st of August 91? Obviously, we were 5th in the league at the point. Peter Reid brought you on board, very much to replace Colin Hendry, we believe. What do you think about that, Dave? Do you think he was very much in that position where it was one in, one out in that centre-half position?
I think there was myself, Colin Hendry, and Steve Redmond.
Yeah.
We were the 3 centre-backs. And again, I think probably I had a couple of games with Colin, a couple of games with Steve, and I think Peter decided at that particular time I was more suited, or we complemented each other better, myself and Steve Redmond. I've got to say, I enjoyed playing alongside Steve Redmond. I think at the time, very underrated.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. What's your first impression of City when you came in? I'm just trying to get my idea of when you first come in. Obviously, you've talked about being a big club, and when you first come to see Maine Road and Platt Lane itself. What's your first impressions when you came on board?
Well, again, I think probably I played there a couple of times before, and again, I was looking forward. In the Platt Lane when I was singing the Blue Moon. I can remember my first home game going out and hearing that. And it was absolutely phenomenal. When you think back in now, it's quite chilling when you think about that experience. And like I say, I played at good stadiums, played at big stadiums, but never with the stadium being your home ground. So going from Wimbledon to walking out at Maine Road as captain, great feeling.
It's bonkers, yeah. It's bonkers. I think as a fan, we dream of doing that. It never happened, and to talk to somebody that's actually done it and feel it, I could see the atmosphere on your face when you talked about it, and the passion hits you, doesn't it, straight away? Yeah, it does.
And again, I've got to say, it's a very, very welcoming environment that Peter Reid and Sam Ellis, the assistant manager, had created. And again, at the time, I think the football club was in a transitional period. I think they had a few slightly older players that were going to be. I think Wayne Clark was there, Adrian Heath, Gary Megson, and those players. I'm not so much saying being frozen out, but I think they weren't going to be part of the new generation and the new change that Peter Reid and Sam Ellis wanted to bring in. I think they brought them in previously to steady the ship and give them a foundation, and I think that then the football club wanted it to go on to the next level.
Yeah. I've got the squad list in front of me from when you came on board. It was there's some phenomenal names though. I mean, there's some proper poster names here. Lake, Lomas, McMahon, White, Quinn. You played with some great players. Who were the outstanding ones when you came on board? The ones you really wanted to play with?
Quinny, David White, again Ian Brightwell, Bob was another player there that was probably underrated and didn't get the amount of games and the amount of credit for the games that he did play. Great character, excellent in the changing room, a very good squad player because he was one of those, no matter if he was playing or not playing, he had a level consistency about his performance and about his personality that was indicative of what the football club were trying to bring in. Not everybody can play week in, week out, but we knew at the time we needed a squad and we needed very capable players. And people people like that. Paul Lake, again, I think I was there through the latter stages of his rehab where he was desperately trying to get back in. And again, I think we had a rip round as players when he finally decided that he wasn't going to be able to come back. And again, that was an emotional time when you'd seen seen at first hand the effort that the lad had put in and the upsets and disappointments that he'd had to go through. But his strength of character, the kid would not give up. And again, you've got to say, being in and around somebody like that, it was quite humbling as well, because you're going out and you're training and you're taking it for granted. The work that the kid was putting in behind the scenes, desperately trying to get back, was quite awesome.
I remember his testimonial, and he did the kick-off, didn't he, in the knee brace, and he had the guard of honour coming out. And it's quite an emotional day, actually, because obviously it's such a shame to see that. And I can imagine you as a colleague, and I can imagine a friend in certain aspects to being a fellow player. It must have been hard for that group of that team to say goodbye to him in that capacity.
Yeah, it was very difficult. I can still remember, which I think the Platt Lane had just been built, was being done then, and he'd made his decision, and it goes. I can remember making a speech for him at the time when we presented him with something that we bought him, and it was emotional, because you knew it wasn't a decision that he'd taken lightly. I think the kid had tried for 2.5 years before that to try to come back again. Then he got closer and he'd come back. And every time the lad's individual mental strength shone through. He faced disappointment head on, and he saw everything as a challenge. And it's one of those, credit to the lad.
We seem to go on a bit of a. We had a really good squad from me looking in as a young lad watching it, but the results didn't always go our way. We seem to have a bit of a dip in a couple of years, and I'm going into. A year later, the 92-93 season, we finished 9th. We signed Terry Phelan, I think. Dave, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And the 93-94 season must have been, as a club captain, must have been a real tough one for you. Obviously, with Peter Reid leaving, John Maddox came in as some kind of, seemed to be like a bit of a grim reaper, making a cull of senior management. And obviously bringing Brian Horton on board. What was your memory of those days? It must have been quite a tough situation for you to be senior within the players, to see this going on above you to the managers.
Yeah, again, I've noticed it as I've evidenced it firsthand when the focus at the football club is not all about results on a Saturday. And again, when they become second news, the football club eventually will struggle. And again, I think there was a lot of talk about behind the scenes and what was going on behind the scenes that was a distraction. And then I think the results became secondary, whereas before, when it came in, everything was about Saturday, everything was about winning and creating that winning mentality. And then it was a case of different managers changed, different board personnel, different ownership was in the wranglings, and again, it can become a distraction.
I can imagine we brought in some quality attacking players though from memory. Some Paul Walsh, Uwe Rosler came on board.
Yeah, I can remember Uwe's first season. Again, another player that came in, picked up the DNA of the football club very well. I can remember. I spent some enjoyable times with Uwe, and I can remember I had a few tussles with him as well. Because that's not just, I think that's not so much a clash of personalities, but we were two people that cared, and we both wanted to win. So again, that boiled over a couple of times.
Obviously, he's managing at Dusseldorf.
Fortuna Dusseldorf now, yeah.
Isn't it, at the moment? Do you ever keep in touch with players that go on to be managers and try and swap stories or anything like that?
No, not more so. Again, I've met Uwe on the circuit a couple of times when he was manager at Brentford as well. And then I think he went to Preston as well. So no, again, he's a football person, very astute in his mindset. He's had that success that I'm still after.
Oh, I want to take you back for a moment to. Now, I was 11 at this point, and there's certain games through my watching, because I was very lucky. My dad used to take me to away games all the time. And there's a certain away game on Saturday, the 29th of January, and you are definitely going to remember this day as much as I do. It was a little FA Cup game at Ninian Park.
I was there.
I was there. And I tell you what, I went down with the mentality of, this is going to be a walk in the park. This is going to be, and I had that. And this is probably the first time where I've actually experienced it's never going to be as easy as what you think it's going to be. And obviously, we lost 1-0. And what happened, Keith?
Well, I missed the penalty. It was Nathan Blake cut inside. I think that was a kickstart in Nathan's career, wasn't it?
It really was, yeah.
It was. I just want to give you the. I know one thing. The funny thing I'm smiling about this now because I was obviously I was gutted because I always had in my head that Keith Curle was a brilliant penalty taker, and I thought when you were stepping up, I thought brilliant, he's going to score this, no problem whatsoever, no problem, still a smile on my face.
I know.
And you missed. And do you know what the worst thing was, Keith? Was when I looked at all the Cardiff fans all giving it. You can imagine what. Half of them were wearing United shirts. I was just like, I can't believe this. Unbelievable. United fans doing it. My dad mentioned, they'll probably support Cardiff as well as United. I thought, I hate them even more now. It's dreadful. Unbelievable. But our team that day, I just want to run through that team. Tony Coton, Steve Lomas, Phelan, Kernahan, Keith Curle, Michelle Vonk, Rocky Rocastle, Kerr Ingbritson, Carl Griffiths, Gary Flitcroft, and Grover Dyke.
Alphonse Gronendijk, yeah.
Some cracking names there, pal.
I'm just saying, did we play three at the back that day then? Because Alan Kernaghan...
Yeah, Vonky was there as well then. Yeah, it would have been you, Kernaghan and Vonky as a back three, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So
it's funny how you remember things, isn't it, with football, especially stuff like that. And you can, and I never went to another game thinking this is a guaranteed. Even to this day, when City play with the might that we've got now, whoever we might play, I'm thinking we're going to lose this.
I'd rather talk about the penalty against Man United at Old Trafford.
Do you know what, mate? I'm glad you've mentioned that because that's next on the list. So I was going to put negative with a bit of a positive into it as well. Tell me all about it because I could relive that all day.
Well,
it's still going the ball, you know. It's still going.
I know. Yeah. No, it is one of those. Actually, in fact, my son sent me the video through. I think somebody had posted it on Twitter a couple of weeks ago. And I sat there and, brings back fantastic memories. I can remember when I put the ball down on the spot, stepping back. And I probably did the worst thing I could have done. I've looked up and I've tried giving, not as much giving, but tried looking confidently at Peter Schmeichel and just staring him down. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you don't have to look big in that goal.
Yeah.
And then again, I made a decision. I knew where I was going with it, but because of obviously the proximity, I knew how close, and they would have been watching our penalties. And I thought, well, I need to go higher with this free kick.
Yeah.
Big lad on it, Peter. Yeah, big lad. So I stuck to my side that I was going. He went the right way, but I put the ball high enough. Again, I can remember another penalty we played against Aston Villa. I can remember having the disappointment on my son's face after a game because I'd missed the penalty. So he's coming and goes, Dad, what went wrong? And I said, well, Mark Bosnich at the time was the best penalty saver in the Premier League. I said, so in my head, I knew that he knew which way I was going to go. I was determined that I wasn't going to change my mind of what side I was going to go. I said, because I knew he was going to go his left, my right. I said I was going to go a little bit wider and a little bit higher. In the end, I've missed. And then my son, in complete simplicity of like an 8-year-old, said, well, like, Dad, why didn't you just put it the other side?
Oh.
I think, I can't answer it because I wasn't going to change. I knew I was putting the ball. And one thing I've always been told when you're taking a penalty is put the ball down, know where it's going and stick to it.
Yeah. You always seem to be really good at dispatching penalties. Is it something you practiced?
No.
Seriously, you didn't. You just went down the match day, cracked on with it.
Yeah, well, I had a way of knowing what I was going to do. I had that with me head of recruitment at the minute, Simon Tracy, the old Sheffield United goalkeeper. So I scored a penalty against him, but he saved one of my penalties as well. And he's the only goalkeeper that I could not give him the eyes. Everybody else, I could give him the eyes. A little routine when you're putting the ball down, make him think that you're going to go the other way or you're going to drill it straight down the middle. But like Simon, and I keep saying this because he's dopey. They didn't realise I was trying to give him the eyes. And I don't think he saved it. I think more hitting.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. I bet he's got some cracking stories. Well, we're going to move on from the penalties for a moment. I'm going to take you to the 94-95 season. We finished 17th, yeah. And this was the Swales Franny Lee season, and obviously Francis Lee bought City for £3 million. And obviously there's a massive vitriol surrounding Peter Swales and Franny Lee and the protest and the pin badges and the posters and the scarves and all the rest of it. How was that as a player looking in to see this? Were you just thinking, I'm not bothered about this, just need to crack on?
No, it's one of those, not so much getting embroiled in it, but you knew it was happening. And Franny Lee at the time was a larger-than-life character in and around Manchester. and rightly so, because of his connection to the football club and the career that he's had.
Yeah.
And obviously, I used to play golf at Mottram Hall.
Yeah,
so I used to bump into Franny down there as well. So I was well aware of what was happening, his involvement, his desire to get involved with the football club as well. But likewise as well, I had a lot of time and a lot of respect for Peter Swells. Did very well for me personally on a couple of situations that I had with the FA. Told me the right things to say and when to say it and when not to say anything, which helped at the time, because he's very well respected there. So again, no, it was a difficult time. And again, not only on the pitch, I think off the pitch, there was a transitional period. We had some young players coming into the team as well. And I think we came to the stage we had to start cutting our cloth accordingly as well, which was cool.
Speaking of players coming in, we had Maurizio Gordino that season, I believe.
Yeah.
What did you make of him? He seems to be a stereotypical, robust German midfielder.
Yeah, well, strangely enough, he became a neighbour of mine as well, because he started renting after Eric had moved out of Mark's house. I think Eric moved over to Hale or closer to the red side of the city. Maurizio, he rented Mark's house.
Right, they need a guest book in that house, don't they? Who's been there? Really? You obviously knew quite. Did you go to training together or anything like that?
No, not really. Because I used to go on the school. I used to go on the school run and go slightly earlier. And sometimes I'd go down to Mottram Hall, go and hit some golf balls on the driving range, and then go into training. And I think Maurizio would have had a very continental way about me. Wanted to wake up, have a cup of coffee, have another cup of coffee, have another cup of coffee.
Another espresso, please, and then crack on. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Again, another great lad that I don't think he had enough time at City for us to get to see the best of him.
No, completely.
And I think he played something like 14 games for us in total. Yeah. But every game that he played, Keith, he was just that typical German midfielder, finesse, good on the ball, good at passing. And I feel, I was a season ticket holder then, was for years, that it was just what we needed at that time. We needed that bit of steel in the middle, and he just seemed to calm everything down for us in that period. And just a really nice player to watch. And I think we got him on loan, didn't we? And I believe that we tried to then possibly sign him for the next season. And I think he went off to another German club after that, which I would have loved to him at City for another couple of seasons.
Yeah, I think you're right there. We did miss that. I think we went through a period of having the Steve McMahon, and then we had the young players with Gary Flitcroft and Steve Lomas coming to the fore. But then I think we did miss that personality in the middle of the pitch. And I think most good teams, especially the teams at the time, if you have a look at Man United at the time, the midfield that they had, you needed a personality to be able to compete with teams like that. And I think that is one area we missed. Again, I still say now that Georgie Kinkladze, if he'd gone to Man United and Eric Cantona had come to Man City, I don't think Eric. I don't know. It didn't happen, and it wouldn't have happened. But if it had have happened, I don't think Eric would have been the star that he went on to be. And I think Georgie Kinkladze probably would have been bigger in football and had a bigger career.
At
the time, we couldn't have handled an Eric Cantona in our team because of. I think he only played for 20 minutes in games. In the meantime, he used to go and find space. Well, I don't think he wanted him to tackle, because his tackling wasn't the best. But he was a match winner. And again, at the time when at City, we couldn't have handled a passenger. Everybody, we all had to be in sync, and we all had a job to do.
Yeah. Well, your final season with City was the 95-96 season, where Horton left City at the end of the season. Inti Alan Ball came on board. Yeah. Obviously relegation loomed. And the major highlight was the man you mentioned there, Kinkladze, coming in. What a special player he was. But before we move on to him, tell me about that last couple of games of the season where before we got relegated. That must have been really tough for you as the captain.
I think if you have a look at the start of the season, I think at one point after 11 games or something like that. I don't know exactly what the stats are, but we had a dreadful start to the season. couldn't win a game. And you've got to say credit to the manager. He stuck to his beliefs, kept the team confident. But ultimately, we weren't winning games. And you could say Georgie was a phenomenal player. It's one of those. I'm glad that I played with him, because he could make a fool out of anybody on his day. Again, it was a difficult season. I don't think anybody saw a relegation coming. Even when we'd only got 1 point after 11 games or something like that, we still all believed and knew that we were good enough to get out of it. And I think we did take it to the last game of the season, where again, I think it was the other Georgian player that we'd signed then. He missed 2 chances inside the 6-yard box and would have kept us up. I can't remember his name.
Was it Cash Valley? I think it might have been Cash Valley then.
Yeah, Kalasvili. Yeah, he had 2 chances in that game, and you're thinking like, he could have been a hero, because they would have kept us up.
I totally agree as well. I mean, me and Tom were talking about this before you joined us, Keith, that even going into that final game against Liverpool at Maine Road,
yeah.
I mean, we all in the Kippax went along thinking, we'll be all right. We'll beat Liverpool. We'll be all right. We've got a good enough team to beat them. So even, going into those final minutes,
yeah.
it still hadn't dawned on us, I don't think, that we're going to get relegated here, because we still had that optimism right until those final 5 minutes of the game, to be honest.
I think it was about 12 minutes ago when Quinny thought a draw was enough.
Yeah.
He was running up and down the touchline, and then I don't know, in another game, I think somebody must have scored or something like that, and then the next thing Quinny's running down and saying, look, we need a goal. I still think within that we created a couple of chances that we should have scored.
Isn't there a story of now Quinn in the changing room coming out with a towel wrapped around him to kind of, because he'd been watching some sports channel and obviously realised with 10 minutes to go that we actually needed to win.
Yeah.
Running out the changing room to tell the management team to pull the fingers out. What were you getting there? Were you getting those shouts from the City fans about, with draw's fine? Could you sense that?
I can remember Quinny being on the sideline, gesticulating and saying, "Look, we need a goal. And it's one of those. Well, we always need a goal. I know that. And again, I knew we were going to create chances, and I knew we did create chances. Disappointed and frustrated that we didn't take those chances and didn't win that game. But again, it didn't sink in for ages that we got relegated. It seemed to be like just a numbness, thinking like, how have this football club got relegated? How did we get ourselves into that position? And again, I think statistically, I don't know what it was, but at the start of the season, we were horrendous.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at the squad now, and I'll post the squad on our Facebook page later, and there's some brilliant names there that should definitely not have got relegated, but these things happen, and I think it makes us the team we are today, and certainly the fans, we give us a certain personality of who we are today.
Yeah, again, I think it's unfortunate. It was the start of a decline in the football club that needed, I don't know exactly, was it 4 or 5 seasons to come again?
Yes.
And rebuild.
It really was.
Yeah, no, sorry, Dave, go on.
So yeah, this was my little story, Keith. Because you've been talking about Kinclardsie already. So when I was supposed to be doing my A levels, if my mum's watching this right now, I'm gonna be in trouble. I used to just come and sneak to Platt Lane pretty much every day that you were training there.
Yeah.
So I'd see you all and was kind of starstruck by you all, and for me, I used to watch all of you professional players just watching Kinclardsie. Like I was telling Tom about this on several occasions that, Alan Ball would be there and Franny Lee, and then all of you professionals. And I just remember that you were all looking at this guy and like, what's he doing? Like, I remember there was a training session once where you were all just trying to get the ball off him. And I remember distinctly Niall Quinn just throwing up his arms and going, I can't do it, and he just laughed and walked off. Was he, as someone who just watched you in all in training, he was that good for me that he just never seen anything like it in a blue shirt before. Is that the same for you?
Yeah, very much so. An undoubted talent. But saying that, we did get told by I think it was Alan Ball. We got told we weren't allowed to kick him in training. And I said, well, if he tries putting the ball through my legs, and he's got the ability to do it, I said the likelihood is the next chance I will kick him. I said, so just tell him not to take the mick, and don't try and dress people up. I said, because otherwise he's going to get kicked. But again,
Yeah, it's going into the sense.
A lot of people didn't know that Georgie was a disco dancing champion as well, wasn't he, back in his native land?
He was indeed. Yeah.
We used to call him Happy Feet because
Happy Feet, I like that.
Yeah, he was one of those players that didn't need to look at the ball because he knew where it was. You know, it was like Velcro onto his foot, and he could shift his weight, move the football, move his body. So remember now the goal against Southampton, unbelievable. It dressed people up, sat the goalkeeper down on his backside and lifted the ball over, and you're thinking, it isn't that easy, but he made it look that easy, and that's what he was like. And to be fair to Georgie, he probably understands that the other side of the game, when you're out of possession, that wasn't his forte, and that's probably some of the disagreements that we used to have sometimes. Because like, Joey, you've got to try and help us out a little bit and just stay with anybody, just stay with one man. That would help.
We've had this conversation.
Give him the ball. I remember we played Arsenal, and I had a falling out with Brian Horton because he came in at half time, and he's absolutely tried slaughtering me. I think they'd scored, but it was George's man who ran off of Georgie and scored, but he tried blaming me. And I said, I'm marking my man, and I've got to mark his man, and try and intercept the cross. I said, why don't you just get him to mark his man? I said, and I'll do the other two. So the next thing, but Brian was adamant at the time. So it wasn't until after the game when Brian had been able to look at the video and he'd seen it was George's man that ran off him and everything. Fair play to Brian. He apologised about it and said, I was wrong to dig you out, but thanks for taking the criticism at the time.
Was he one of the best players you played with at City?
Georgie, yeah, the most, yeah.
Who else would you put in that bracket?
I think probably some underrated players like Quinny was excellent. Quinny on his day was unplayable.
Yeah.
When the team were flowing, we needed a Niall Quinn. I enjoyed playing. I enjoyed playing with David White as well. Rapid, quick, focused, could score goals off either foot as well. Again, another player I don't think got the credit. Little Paul Walsh. Again, the career that he had. Again, I think if we probably got a 3 years younger Paul Walsh, we'd have been operating in the top 5 or top 6 again.
Yeah, we were just talking about Paul Walsh actually before you joined us. That for me, I wouldn't have sold him. I would have been keeping Paul Walsh because who did we get? Jerry Craney.
Yeah.
Was it Jerry Craney that we got in the swap deal?
Yeah.
Paul Walsh had played his heart out for City, with Quinn and with Rossler up front. Wonderful player. I thought that was a miss, really, that City letting him go and letting him go to Portsmouth. Yeah,
definitely. Again, I think we went into that period where some of the signings we tried getting value for money and trying to get players from the divisions below to come up and take the places of those players. And again, people like, I don't know, Fitzroy Simpson, Carl Griffiths. This is not being disrespectful to those players because I enjoyed playing with them and working with them, but they weren't at the same calibre as them. Nicky Summerby, and again, another good player, but we needed better at the time with the situation that the club was in.
Yeah. We've
got some questions coming. Keith, I hope it's okay to ask you something. I have vetted half of them, so they're all right.
No, that's right. That's far away.
Favourite games for City?
Favourite game for City? Probably my debut, because of the emotion away. It was away at Coventry. Again, it's one of those. I enjoyed it. It is one of those. The first feeling, your first appearance, pulling on the shirt, being captain, representing the football club. Memorable for me because I think that was the next step on the next journey, certainly for the next 5 years. But coming from a Wimbledon to a Man City with the price tag that was involved as well, your first game, the build up to the first game, the emotion because you want to get involved, you want to be part of the fabric and part of the DNA of the football club. So your first game is vitally important. You want to set a good trend.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you keep any of the shirts that you played with?
Yeah. I've got about. I think I've got about 5 or 6 of them. There's a lot of shirts going around at the minute with Curle on, but they're not mine because they're all long sleeve ones, and I never wore long sleeve shirts.
Yeah. Tell me, you still got the white one?
The one with the purple stripe in it. Yeah, I still got that one.
Crikey. Oh, brilliant. Next question. Favourite goal for City? It's got to be a penalty.
The penalty against Peter Schmeichel, probably because we were at Old Trafford, down to 10 men. I think a lot of people at the time didn't fancy us to hang on or to get anything out of the game, and to get a penalty and still hang on was very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a really good question. We played some great football under Brian Horton, but struggled to get the results. As you have moved onto management yourself, is there anything, as you would look back, to done differently, or would have done differently as the manager? Dave, I think that's your question.
That was my question. What I really meant by that, Keith, was that we did, we had a good. There wasn't one position in that first team that wasn't, they were very good players. And when you look at it on paper, to finish 17th with the caliber of players that we had, we've got an England international, in defence. Great goalkeeper, King Clardsey, whoever else. Now that you've been involved, from the management side for, 500 plus games now, we're looking back, it's not to disparage Brian Horton in any way, but do you think you might have been able to do something different? Because we shouldn't have struggled, should we?
No, we shouldn't have. I think probably, again, even though the attacking flair that we had, I don't think we scored enough goals. I think we were solid enough. I think we created chances. I just don't think we scored enough goals that season. Or not enough goals, certainly for the way that we played, and the quality and talent we had in the squad. I get on well with Brian. I spoke to Brian loads of times afterwards, and I met him on the circuit loads of times. Got a lot of respect and a lot of time for Brian, and a lot of the ideas that he had in place and what he brought to the football club were right. Just on that particular time, we could not put the ball in the back of the net enough for the dominance we had. And again, taking it now into management, I've got a way that I want to play football. If you have a look at the way that we've played football since I've gone into Northampton, we play back to front and we get the ball forward quickly, and we try and work in the opposition's half. Again, we don't roll the ball out at the back, but that's big, and you learn that as a coach and a manager when you walk into a football club that was just being relegated, 3-4 points, no confidence, no winning mentality. You need to give those players the opportunity, and that means go and play. Kind of limit the risk and limit the limitations on giving the opportunity for the opposition to score. So we keep the ball away from our net and we land on balls in the second. We do the ugly side of the game very, very well. And again, but the longer you're at a football club, then you're able to build in a playing philosophy, which I was able to do at Carlisle. When I first went to Carlisle, we kept the ball away from our goal. We got it up front. We got as many people around the ball as we could do. We tried to put the ball in their opposition's box as much. We did it to stay up. We managed to stay up, and then we put a foundation in place. And gradually we built. And we got more better players in, and then we finished 3 top 10s, playoff semi-final, and we got known for being a very, very good footballing team. And again, it was just something that I'm trying to do at Northampton now. We've got put foundations in place of how we want to play. Ultimately, the longer you stay at a football club, the more you're able to implement a style of play. Sometimes if you get a manager or a coach that walks in, he says, like, this is how I play, and I don't care about results. If results don't come, very quickly, that football club gets another manager.
Right. Yeah.
So again, go back to your question. We should. I just don't think we scored enough goals in that season, particularly.
Yeah.
I've had a few chats with people on social media, as you do, and a couple of people have mentioned this. They seem to remember you being the first player that they can certainly remember to be able to shadow a ball out of play for a dead ball. Yeah. Is that something that you particularly knew of, or is that something you built into your game?
Again, probably because I didn't have an upbringing as being a defender. And I picked up a lot of things from Terry Cooper, Clive Middlemass, even Bobby Gould, and certainly Don Out, that I wasn't a typical, normal head it and kick it centre-back. I could play. Because I played forward, so I knew what instinctively where centre forwards were going to go, what they were going to do, and what wingers. Most defenders don't like getting caught in wide areas. I didn't mind defending in wide areas because I had a turn of pace. So again, I don't think too much shadowing the ball out of play. Just part and parcel of not letting the opposition get to the ball. Brilliant. I think probably the most frustrating player I played against was, I remember my lad sent it to me again about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Somebody else put it on Twitter. Faustino Asprilla when we played against
Newcastle.
Yeah, he's elbowed me, he's headbutted me, and then I got called up in front of the FA to answer questions for adopting an aggressive attitude. I'm thinking, wow.
He was a good player, but he just seemed to be a bit of a nutcase.
Oh, I must admit that it shows on camera him elbowing me and headbutting me, but I can assure you, I laid a glove on him.
Give us good as you got. Give us good as you got.
Yeah, slightly fair.
Absolutely.
Good.
So, give us a sum up of your time at City, then, Keith. What give us the highs, the lows. I mean, I think I could probably name both of them, but you know, what sum up your City career for us.
Well, again, I think probably the biggest disappointment that I've got is that it was. I think it was reported on when I left that I said that I was leaving Man City to join a bigger club in Wolves, and that was totally wrong. I didn't say that. What I said when I left was I was joining a club that had bigger ambitions, and I knew the reasons why that was. Because Man City at the time, I think they'd been relegated. They told me that they needed to sell me because I was earning too much money. Whereby I knew what I was earning and I knew what the wage structure at the football club was, and it wasn't about how much money I was earning. Why they had to go. I was a character, I was a voice, and I was prepared to say what I thought. And I think a few people didn't like that. So the easy thing to do was to blame wages and say they're going down a different route. Unfortunately, so yeah, they did go down a different route.
Yeah, disappointing, I can imagine.
Oh, yeah, it was shocking. But again, you've got to say the fans, they stayed loyal to the football club. And I think those supporters that were there and they saw the journey that the club were going on and the resurrection of the football club, excellent and fantastic. And again, that shows that there's a real belief in the fabric and the DNA of Manchester City Football Club.
But it's funny, you know, because every person I've spoken to about you and doing this and talking about you in the past, there's never been any negative comments about you as a City player when you joined, and that's testament to you and the way you played, and you always put 100% in, and it's great to see that in a player, no matter what position they play in.
No, I've got to say, I've always enjoyed representing every club that I've played for. If anybody ever says to me, what is my favourite club that I played for, represented, it's always Man City, because I went there and they were the ones that gave me the opportunity to operate a massive club in the big screen, on the big screen. In my mind, I'd done my apprenticeship when I went to Wimbledon, and I can remember I spoke to the Wimbledon owner at the time, Sam Mann, and the then manager Reid. They want me to stay for another season, and I said, look, I need to go to Man City. This is my opportunity to go and play on in a stage, in an arena, and for a football club that I will not turn down. And again, I think it's unfortunate, but I had a fallout with the owner. But credit to him, he came around my house and said, look, we love you. You're part of the crazy gang. You're part of the Dons and everything. We need you to stay another year. And I said, Sam, I can't stay. I said, I've been here 3 years. I'm 26. I think I was 26, 27 years old. I need to go now, and I need to go this season. And fair play. So I think he pushed the price up, and credit the City. They paid the money. I don't think it was all in one lump sum. I think it was just paid on instalments. But no, it's. I look back at fond memories. I still go to Manchester because my kids still live in Manchester now. So I've got a son, daughter, and grandchildren that live in Manchester now. I do enjoy coming back to the city.
Great, it's good to hear. And I bet you're always welcomed as well when you walk around the streets. I bet people must recognise you. I
still get the curly whirly shout.
Oh, love it. So listen, we're nearly wrapped up now. I think the most important thing is for me to ask is obviously your manager's career is well underway. What's your goals? What's your ambitions? What are your expectations the next 5 years?
I need a promotion. I've been lucky enough that the jobs that I've had, I've turned football clubs around. I've got them on the right path. I just need to get a promotion at the end of it now. But I've had a couple of playoffs. I've saved clubs from going in the wrong direction. I've got good foundations, got good fundamentals of how I want the game to be played. Ultimately, I need to revert that and show that up now as a promotion. And then again, I think I'm at a football club now that has got ambition. I think we're in a very, very difficult time now with the coronavirus, and nobody knows. I think it's going to be more information comes out tomorrow as into a direction that the Football League are going to go in, whether it's going to be promotions, whether it's going to be playoffs, whether the season's going to end, whether it's not going to end. So again, it's a very, very difficult time.
How are you managing with your players? Are you literally doing what we're doing now, Zoom calls, making sure the training's still doing stuff?
Yeah, well, we've given them, because they're furloughed as well, so you can't give them training programs as such to do.
Right. Okay, right.
So you try and advise them as in what are the best things for an elite athlete should be doing, could be doing. And again, we have the Zoom meetings. I've got 4 members of staff, the assistant manager, coach, and the goalkeeping coach. So we divide the players up, and every week on a rota we ring the players, speak to the players, text the players, Zoom meeting the players, and then once every 2 weeks we have a combined Zoom meeting with all the players, all the staff as well. I've got to say the chairman of the football club's been excellent as well. He's joined in a couple of the Zoom meetings as well, speaking to the players, telling them and updating them exactly as into on behalf of the football club what the situation is. And again, that makes my job a lot easier when there's clarity and communication from the top. And I try and be a part of that as well.
Yeah, it's what you need as well, isn't it? You need to know what you're doing. And I've got to ask: are you getting involved in the players' quizzes? Are they keeping the banter between themselves? Are you getting involved with that as the manager?
I've got to say, we set up the quizzes and the group chats and everything. Now I'm not party to it. I don't want to know what their banter is. My assistant manager and me coaches, that they're on the players group chat, and some of the banter that goes around, excellent, but I don't want to be a part of it.
Don't want to know about it, do you?
Some of it might be about me, so I don't want to know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, Dave, have you got anything else to add?
Well, I'm just going to go the cliche questions, Keith, as usual, which you've heard 100 times before. But, club or international level, best player you played against and best player you played with?
Like I say, naturally in footballing ability, I'd probably say to play with is Georgie Kincladsey. Enjoyed it when he came. Enjoyed being a teammate of his. And seeing some of the things that he did with the football was very enjoyable. Coaching wise, management wise, the best player that I've coached is Adel Tarabat at QPR. He was phenomenal.
Yeah,
he had certain flaws in his character and certain flaws in his makeup, but again, put the kid on the football pitch, very, very good. Hardest opponent, I'd probably say Mark Hughes, as in. It's difficult to kick your neighbour, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder why I never got any parcels delivered at my house. I think he must have stopped them at the gates.
That redirecting the Amazon guy. I don't know if it was involving taking him and his family out for a meal. I think I could kick him pretty high not to pay. You still keep in touch with him now?
Yeah, I still speak to Sparky now and again. He's a difficult person to get hold of. Going into management and coaching, he's one of those, he's a nightmare to get hold of. Likewise, as a player, difficult to kick. And when you did kick him, you guarantee he'd kick you back.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Love that.
I've got one last thing, which is a little reminisce for me, Keith. I think you played in this game. This was a 3-3 City United at Maine Road when we were winning. When we were winning 3-1. Yeah, you remember that game?
Yeah. I can still remember Vonke's header. All he had to do was head it straight back down the pitch. He tried heading it inside.
Yeah, it was just, I'm interested to know did you hear the fans? Because if you remember what happened was United had squandered a 3-1 lead against Galatasaray a few days before.
Yeah.
And the whole chant from the Kipaks was 3-1 up and you effed it up. And then we go and start winning, 3-1 and everyone's partying in the Kipaks, and then they bring it back to 3-3. I think Keane scored it, didn't he? I think he got the equaliser in the final minute or something. Yeah. Do you have any memories of that game?
I could just remember at the time we were comfortable in the game.
Yeah,
very, very comfortable in the game, and it was a nothing ball down the middle. That Vonke knows it as well. Vonke should have just headed it straight back down the throat. and the next thing he tries a glance and then we're scrambling. And again, I know City fans won't want to hear this, but you've got to give United credit that they could score goals. And so we knew then we were in for it. It was going to be a difficult time, and we just couldn't get a foothold in the game, and we couldn't get the ball and keep the ball in the opposition's half long enough. And every time they came into our half, they looked dangerous.
Yeah, that was a good United team. That was just that time that we thought we've got them this time. We're going to have bragging rights for a few months.
2-0, we were 2-0 up, comfortable, and it could have been 3. We could have gone 3-0 up. And I can still remember now, like Vongi, it's one of those, keep doing what we're doing, and we'll be all right. And the next thing the ball came, and Michael Vonk was very good at heading it straight back down the pitch. Next thing he decides to try and no. Hey, now as a manager, as a coach, I see some things that players are doing, and I'm thinking, like, what are you doing? That is not going to make you look a good player. Edit, kick it, get it down, pass it, and play. But it's one of those, don't complicate the game. It's very simple. If you do the simple things well in football, you can get the rewards.
You must have some great experiences to give to your players.
The best thing is that I still take anybody on at 2-touch, and I still win money, and I still beat people now.
Oh, brilliant. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for coming on and chatting to us. You've answered about 20 years worth of questions.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. Dave, you got anything else to add?
No, thank you so much, Keith, for even responding to my tweet to you in the first place. It's greatly appreciated. You were absolutely a season ticket holder from 1990, so you are one of my absolute heroes.
Oh, super. No, it's a pleasure. And like I say, whenever the invite's there, I'm available.
Brilliant, Keith. That's lovely. Fantastic. Thanks very much.
Cheers, guys.
See you later.
Stay safe.